Hey all, I just wanted to do a quick video for you on what's going to happen when you open the exam in Respondus Lockdown Browser and Monitor. So again, when you go to take the practical, the lab practical or the lecture exam, and you are going to open up the Respondus Lockdown Browser app. And then from there, it's going to kind of look like your Canvas page. And then you're going to go ahead and click on the exam. Again, right now this won't work, but obviously once the exam works, you can click on the exam. And when you do, it's going to prompt you for a couple of things. One, it's going to prompt you for your ID card. So please hold up an ID card that has a picture of yourself and your name. So it can be a driver's license or your MCC student card, or your student ID card. And the reason that we need those is we just have to verify that it is you taking the exam and that you're not having someone else take the exam for you. So please don't forget to do that. If you do, I will have to ask you to resend it. So it'll just be easier to do it right there. So just as you go to start your exam, make sure that you have your ID with you. And then the second part is that it's going to do what's called an environment check. So the environment check, believe it or not, is really, really important for us as instructors so that we can see that you don't have anything directly around you or on the wall in front of you, so that as you're taking the exam, and this always happens, right? Like during the exam, you're kind of like, oh, I got to think about this question for a minute. As you're staring off, I've had students before that have put like sticky notes and things like that on the wall behind them. The reason I know that they had sticky notes on that wall behind them is because they didn't know that once you start recording for the environment check, it continues recording. It's called the pre-exam recording time before you actually click to start the exam. And so they did their environment check, and then they were like, oh, okay, they thought it was done recording. So then they took out like all of these notes that they had from the bottom, and they're sticking them, and I can see it in the video just like this. They're sticking them on the wall behind. And so it was pretty easy to see, unfortunately, that they had cheated. And I always say, please, please, please don't cheat. It's such a big headache for you, and it's a big headache for me. And this is honestly information that you need to know anyway. You guys are all going into some allied health professional field, so this is stuff that you need. So hopefully none of you are going to be in that position to attempt to cheat. So that'll be. I won't talk anymore on that because again, it happens so rarely. But again, the good environment check really helps me to know, like if you're like looking off in the distance or off behind you, that you're really thinking and you're not really looking at notes or something like that around you, or notes on the floor or a book on the floor or something like that. So again, I'm going to show you what it looks like to do a good environment check. Oftentimes what I initially get on this first exam is this. Here's my environment. There you go. There you go. And that probably just made you sick watching that, because you can see, right? I can't see anything, okay? It's just all a blur. And so then if there is any question as to whether or not you were cheating, I don't have a good environment check to back me up. So the better the environment check, the easier it is to have that backup that you were not cheating. Okay, so what I usually like to have you do is talk me through it. Say, I am going to be taking my exam at the table here. I'm going to go ahead and show you. Here is the table below me. And then you can go ahead and turn it and say, okay, here's the table off on the side here, as you can see. And you can even back up your camera there. And I have a laptop, so I know it's challenging. And then you can say, oh, that rolled up down there, that's the area where my kids have all their stuff, but I won't be down there. And then, you can just kind of roll around like this, really give me a good idea of that area. Then what I'd like you to do is give me a look around on the walls behind you. Excuse my messy kitchen there. But you can see that way then here in front of me, okay? Where I might be looking off in the distance is just a big window, and it has no sticky notes. okay? And then you can kind of continue on and see that I've got no sticky notes, nothing on the walls, nothing on the ceiling. So if I'm looking up, there's nothing on the ceiling. And that is a really good environment check, okay? So that way then, that just really helps me to see that you have nothing around you that you could be cheating with. And the other thing is I do have audio on. It's going to record audio as well. So if you are a person that needs to talk through things, I kind of love that because then I know that you know the material. You're working through it in your mind and you're talking. So you don't have to be silent on these exams. You can absolutely talk through things, work it out in your head. So please feel free to do that. Just don't talk to, somebody else about it that might be in the room. So those are, again, my suggestions. The other thing is, as you can see, it's going to be recording just like this. And so if your significant other walks behind you in their skivvies, everyone's going to see it. Okay? Well, everyone, both Dr. Ben and I will be able to see it because we'll be reviewing the videos. And same with anything that's said. Now, I do understand that if you have kids, I have kids, and they oftentimes interrupt, sometimes when I'm recording videos. And so they may interrupt you while you're, taking your exam. And that's fine. Just verbalize to me what's going on. Say, oh, my child needs to ask me a question. I'm just going to take a moment and answer their question. And then, maybe remind them I'm taking an exam. But I had one case where, one of the students taking the exam had a child that needed bathroom help. And so they just verbalized that to me and said, hey, I need to go take care of this. And so I get that. You have lives and it's hard sometimes taking an exam at home if you have kids, okay? But just verbalize, just let me know what's going on. That's the easiest way to kind of make sure that I know what's going on and I know that you're not cheating, okay? So those are just some tricks that I have in terms of things that you can do to ensure that there is no question as to whether or not you are cheating. Really quick, I just want to go over here and show you, again, some of those tools for studying. So I know you guys are studying like mad right now. So again, make sure that you go to that lab stuff. If you go to that lab practical one, I feel like on the skin lab, the one thing that the video was really lacking is it didn't go over some of the actual skin models. So I do that in this practical review session, if you watch that. And it's just a YouTube video where I basically give like a lab practical review just like I would if I had you in person. But you can also see on some of these images. So you can always go to our labeled images. And if you go down here, you can see some of these beautiful models. And the models actually are a really, really great way to identify some of these structures in the skin, even if they are taking forever to open on your computer like they are on mine here. Wow, it is really slow today. But those models, I think, are really helpful in terms of giving you an idea of, gosh, they're just really going to open slow for me. I won't make you wait to open them, but you can open them. You can kind of see them here. Again, they are really nicely labeled. You're going to have the epidermis up here, and it'll be broken down into those 5 layers, starting with the stratum corneum, then going through the stratum lucidum, then the stratum granulosum, then the stratum spinosum, and the stratum basale, which is just that little blue layer right on the bottom. Again, that's that single cell layer of those cells that are actually going to be undergoing mitosis and producing that kind of next generation of cells that's getting pushed up. Then you're going to go into the dermis here, and again you have the papillary layer, which is going to be the layer of the dermis that's going to be in those dermal papilla, those finger-like structures, and then the rest of it's going to be the reticular layer. And then kind of down at the very bottom, and really this doesn't show it, but right below here would be the hypodermis, which is going to have more of the adipose tissue. So they're showing you that transition there. So again, it's a really nice way to kind of learn these structures and put it all together. I also like that then it has all of these organs within the skin that you can see. So you can go through and see things like the sudoriferous gland, again, which is going to be one of your sweat glands that has the ducts, or, you know, a sebaceous gland, and they kind of show you what the sebaceous gland also looks like in a cross section. So that's kind of nice. So again, it's going to give you all those structures that you need to know, but I like that it puts it kind of all together in a model. So if you're having trouble with those models and you're struggling, please let me know, and I am more than happy to go over those with you. Again, I also go over them in my review session. And then lastly, I wanted to remind you that you can get to that Practice Lab Practical if you haven't done it. I think it's a great way to kind of test yourself after you've studied, okay? So study like you're studying for the practical, and then take this online practice practical. It'll give you an idea of maybe what you might need to go spend some more time on. Like you're like, oh my gosh, so those skin questions really, you know, kicked my butt. I need to go back and spend some more time studying the Skin Lab. The other thing to keep in mind is that I am not going to be hand grading all of your practice practicals. So what that means is it's not going to give you partial credit. So keep in mind that when you take the actual online practical, I am going to hand grade those, and Dr. Ben will hand grade some of them. I will be hand grading the first set of these practicals for Lab Practical 1. And so I will go back and I will look at your spelling. Did you just miss one letter and it marks the whole thing wrong? Okay. And so if you did, if you just were off by one letter, but it is very clear that you had the correct answer, then I will give you full credit for that. If you're off by 2 to 3 letters, but again, it's very clear that you had the correct answer, you just misspelled it and you were off 2 to 3 letters, then I will give you half credit. Okay. And then if you're off more than that, you're pretty far off from the you know, being clear that it was the correct answer. So again, that's kind of where we are, but that partial credit is really important. And please keep that in mind when you click that button for the save button for the exam and then you submit, because it's going to give you a grade and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I did terrible. Please keep in mind that I have to go back and regrade these. Sometimes you put, you know, you spelled the term with a capital letter, and for some reason we didn't have the capital version of it. We just had a lowercase, you know, all lowercase letters for that answer. And obviously your answer is still correct. It's just that we didn't have all of the potential ways that you could write that answer. Also, there's also some terms like for the bone haversian canal versus central canal. They're both the same thing. It just depends on what term you liked. So obviously I will accept either, but it may not have one of those as a potential answer in there, and so it's going to mark it wrong. So please try not to focus too much on your grade. Pretend like it's an in-person practical and that you don't have a grade until I actually grade them. I will try to get them graded as quickly as I can, and then once I have them all graded, I will send out a notice letting you know that I have all of those practicals graded. Okay, so I think that gives you pretty much an overview of kind of what to expect. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to email me and I can set up a time with you. Or if you have a question that you think everybody might want to know the answer to, please post it on the Muddiest Point. Even if you already got your points for the Muddiest Point, you can still post it as a reply. And that way then everyone gets that question. So, and sometimes I'll go ahead and just post your question if you send it to me individually for everyone if I think it's something that everyone will benefit from. All right, so I think that's it. Like I said, please contact me and reach out to me if you have any questions.